Hi guys, this is Ryan, and this is my 2001 Dodge Ram 2500 24 valve Cummins. It needs a little bit of work. It's my project truck, and the point of this video is to see if someone who's not a mechanic can actually do some of the work to it, and hopefully I can actually do it well. So the work that this truck needs, well, actually needs a little bit of work. But this video is going to actually be about me doing the tie rods, the outer tie rods on both sides, and the upper and lower ball joints on both sides. If I can do it, I don't know, but we're about to find out. Okay, so here's a fun fact for you. The catch to this whole project is I actually do not have a concrete floor in my shop that I'm working on. I will show you here. It's actually just a dirt floor. See, dusty. And I've actually just put a tarp down underneath to work on, and it's winter, so all the snow and stuff inside the truck is dripping down all over me, so it makes it a little bit more of a pain. So I've got the truck jacked up on my dirt floor. So I've got a couple of jacks under there because, well, it's a dirt floor, and we just want to see how this is gonna go. So a little bit redneck. Like I told you, I'm not a mechanic, and I am definitely not a journeyman mechanic by any means, so we're gonna see if this works. Best part about it is I was able to jack it up just enough to get this wheel off the ground. It can just barely spin, and it's still just rubbing on that tarp just a little bit, but it should be good enough to be able to get this tire off, and then I can get working on pulling everything else off to get to those ball joints and the tie rods. Here we go. Alright, so we got the tire off, so the next step is to get the caliper bracket and the caliper off. Then we got to get the rotor off. I've got new rotors and pads on order, they just haven't shown up yet. I was really hoping to get this all done all in one shot to save me a bit of time, but they just haven't shown up, and I want to get going on this. So we're going to pull these off, and then hopefully this rotor will come off without too much of a fuss. Alright, I was able to break it free. So now I can continue to do the rest of it without my little bar there. So I gotta finish taking the rest of this off, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is on the back side of this hub assembly, I'll show you on this side, there's 4 bolts that actually need to come off. I'll give you some light here. So you can see where those 2 bolts were. Okay, so there's 2 on this side and then 2 on the opposite side. Once you get those off, just stick my light up. Once you get those off, so I've got this one here, and then there's one more to go up here. They're pretty tough to break off, so I'm using my cheater bar here to make it a heck of a lot easier on myself. Then this can pull off, and then I can start pulling this guy off to get to the ball joints. Alright, so this front hub is being a huge pain in the butt. It is fused right on there. It's right here. It's this piece that needs to separate. So I've read a few things and watched videos, and some guys are putting sockets on the back nut here, and then have the extension push against the frame there, and I'll do that on each side. I'll turn on the truck, utilize the power steering, crank it back and forth. Hopefully that'll wiggle it free. I'll heat it up with the heat gun, keep beating it with the hammer, and hopefully this thing will break free and stop being such a pain in my butt. All right, the power steering move worked. It broke free big time. It's awesome. Here we go. Now I'm able to pull this shaft right out of here. It's sliding out super easy. There's that shaft. Alright guys, so I got the new ball joints on there. I'll give you a peek here. This is the new upper ball joint. I just got to finish tightening this guy. Lower ball joint, just got to finish tightening this guy here. Once I get those done, I'm just going to move on to the tie rods. And I'll do, I think, most of the tie rods except for the driver's side outer tie rod. I'll leave that for when I pull that driver's side off and get going on doing all of this again on the other side. So I'll put this back together other than the tie rods and then I'll move on. Alright, so this part of the tie rod was a huge pain in the butt to get off. I had to just soak it like crazy in rust penetrator to get it off. And so this is the inner tie rod that goes all the way down to that outer tie rod on the driver's side, and it's super loose. Should not be that loose at all, so I'm going to need to replace this guy. And as I'm looking at it, way under there where this tie rod connects to, it connects to the pitman arm up there, and that tie rod that connects to the pitman arm up there is super loose as well. So I have two more that I'm going to have to replace. So I'm going to have to pick up a couple of new parts before I move on, and then we will go from there. So here underneath the truck, this tie rod just untwists like that. And you just keep untwisting it till it comes right out of there. If you can see that. And once it comes out of there, it's just a little bit tricky with just one hand on this weird angle, but once it comes out of there, you just will screw the new one in. One more little fun fact for you. They are reverse threaded. If you were a mechanic or not an idiot, you would probably clue into that a lot sooner than I did. So, reverse threaded. Act as if you're screwing it in and it'll come right out. It's actually super easy if your brain works quicker than mine and you figure that out. Okay, so I've got my left outer tie rod, or sorry, this I guess would be my right, the passenger side outer tie rod. And then the tie rod at the pitman arm here, I've pulled it right off the truck, so it's just easier to do here. And I've counted all the threads on these, and I've, over here, I've counted the threads and marked them with tape. So when I get close to that tape line, I'm going to start counting threads again to make sure that these line up as close as possible to where they were, so that I'm able to drive in to get an alignment and have it not be too crazy, and hopefully it's fairly close. So I've counted these, marked them on the new ones, and I'm going to take them off here and put the new ones on here just to save me from crawling under the truck, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so I'm underneath the truck, got all the ball joints, tie rods, and even put a new steering damper in because the other one busted as I was taking it out. But there's the new tie rods. You can kind of see the ball joints way back here. I don't know if you can see that. That's kind of the new ball joints. So there's the tie rods, new steering damper there. I'm gonna adjust my light so you can see everything else over here. Here's the other end of the tie rod there. Got all that stuff done. It's kind of nice to have some nice looking new clean parts underneath. I also put a new adjusting sleeve on the driver's side tie rod area just because one of those nuts was stripped out. That little thing was 60 bucks. So that's a pricey little sleeve. Thankfully the other one was good. Sorry, the other one right there was good, that kind of rusted one. The transfer case cover I also painted because for some unknown reason the last owner had painted it an ugly yellow and it was driving me nuts. So I got that done as well. So next up is the road test and then take it in to get the wheels aligned. I did do the steering wheel alignment so it's straight, but just need to get the wheels towed out properly because that's probably off as well. So there we go. So we're driving the truck now. It seems to drive pretty straight. It seems tight. Steering wheel, I think I lined it up pretty good. There's no shakes or wobbles either, so I'm hoping that the tires don't need to be towed in or out too much. So once we get to the mechanic, we'll see what he says and go from there. Okay, so I got the results from the alignment back, and it actually was in really good shape. He didn't really need to adjust the wheels a whole lot. They needed to be towed out slightly, but not very much, so it actually went pretty good. I'm impressed with myself. The only thing for this project I would say that are a definite must is a ball joint press. Pickle fork was really handy. The ball joint press, even for pushing out the steering damper, that was the only way I was able to get it out. Bashing it out with a hammer didn't do anything. So someone who's not a mechanic or a journeyman can definitely do this project, I would say. I'm really happy with how it turned out. But you definitely will need a ball joint press, pickle fork for sure. And then the nuts on the bottom of the ball joints, I didn't have sockets big enough and I just lucked out finding an old farming tool that was the perfect size for those. But otherwise, yeah, definitely is a very possible project for anybody, so long as you've got the right tools and you're a little bit mechanically minded. So can someone who's not a journeyman do it? Yep, you sure can, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So thanks for watching, guys.